Sophie loved collecting antique dolls. She had shelves filled with them, each unique and beautiful. Some were porcelain, some wooden, and some made of fabric. She believed every doll had a history, a soul of its own. One afternoon, she walked through a flea market. Old books, jewelry, and furniture surrounded her. Then, she saw it, a small wooden stall in the far corner. A man stood behind it, half hidden in shadows. Sophie walked closer. The stall was filled with dolls, but they were different. Their eyes looked too real. Their faces had eerie expressions, frozen between a smile and a frown. One doll caught her attention. It was small, porcelain, and dressed in a red velvet gown. Golden curls framed its pale face. But its eyes, its glassy, dark eyes, seemed to stare into her soul. She picked up the doll. It felt heavier than expected. Something about it sent a chill down her spine. Still, she wanted it. She asked the vendor, "How much?" The man smiled, a slow, unsettling smile. He said, "For you, no charge." Sophie hesitated. "Why free?" she asked. The man leaned forward and whispered, "She chooses her owner." Sophie laughed nervously. It was just a doll. She took it home. She placed it on her shelf with the others. The doll sat there, unmoving, its dark eyes watching. That night, strange things began to happen. At midnight, Sophie heard a soft thud. She sat up in bed, heart racing. She looked at the shelf. The doll was gone. She turned on the light. The doll lay on the floor, face down. Maybe it fell, she thought. She placed it back on the shelf and went to sleep. The next night, the same thing happened. But this time, the doll was sitting in the middle of the room. Sophie's breath caught in her throat. She was sure she hadn't moved it. She put the doll in a box. She locked the box in her closet. She tried to forget about it. At 3 a.m., she woke up. A soft voice whispered, "Let me out." Sophie froze. Her closet door was slightly open. Her hands trembled as she reached for the doorknob. Slowly, she opened the closet. The box was open. The doll sat on top, staring at her. She gasped and backed away. Her breath came in short, panicked bursts. She grabbed the doll and ran outside. She dug a hole in her backyard. She buried the doll deep in the ground. She covered it with dirt and ran back inside. She locked her doors. She finally felt safe. The next morning, she woke up. Her body ached from exhaustion. She turned over in bed. The doll was lying next to her. She screamed. Her hands shook as she threw the doll across the room. She had to get rid of it, for good. She drove to the old flea market. She searched for the vendor. But the stall was gone. No one remembered him. She asked an old woman, "Do you know the Dollmaker?" The woman's face paled. "You have one of his dolls?" she asked. Sophie nodded, heart pounding. The woman whispered, "They are cursed. They were made to trap souls." Sophie shuddered. She asked, "How do I get rid of it?" The old woman said, "You don't." Sophie's stomach turned. She had to try. That night, she set the doll on fire. The flames swallowed it, turning it to ash. She sighed in relief. It was finally over. She went to bed, exhausted. At midnight, she woke up. A soft whisper filled the room. "Did you think that would work?" She turned slowly. The doll sat on her shelf, untouched by fire. Its lips curled into a smile. Sophie screamed. The story doesn't end there.